Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are doing the Sparrow final project presentations tonight. Just the one night. We have several students that'll be presenting, so we're looking forward to seeing your final to-do list apps. Very exciting stuff. Big congratulations to everybody. We're very, very proud of you all. We do have a couple of housekeeping things I want to cover first really quick before we get going. If you haven't already, then you'll be hearing from Lori Kamala after she's back from her vacation. So probably sometime next week, you might get an email from her about joining the alumni group. Anytime a student completes a course with us, then you can become a part of the alumni group if you'd like to do that. And alumni really just is an opportunity to have like networking events. So that way you can get in touch with past alumni that have graduated and moved on to dev roles. They can talk about if there's positions open in their employer with their company, anything like that, and just kind of socialize and get to know each other a little bit better. So there are some social events, there are some networking events. Also the skillets that we have on Fridays, I think there have been a couple throughout your class that we had popped up for you to be able to join Friday afternoons around lunchtime. Those will also be something that we'll send out invitations to periodically for you if it's something that's pertinent for anybody that was a graduate of a particular class. So be looking for your inboxes for any kind of notification about alumni group and events coming up. I think I posted earlier this week about the student class survey. If you haven't completed it yet, please feel free to do that. We love getting feedback, so that way we know if we need to pace our class differently, if there was something about the curriculum that was kind of off and you'd like to have more information put in, anything along those lines. So feel free to take 5 or 10 minutes and just fill out that class survey for us, so that way we have good feedback and know where to go from here for future iterations of the class. If you haven't filled out your practicum form yet, be sure to do that too. I'm going to go ahead and post in the chat the links for the class survey as well as for the practicum form. And the practicum form is just if you're intending to participate in the practicum portion, to let us know like who you might like to work with, what your availability is like, so we can group you into groups where you should be able to have at least 1 hour that everybody can convene and work on the project together and kind of update each other with progress. I think Reed posted earlier the past couple weeks about LinkedIn profile info. So since you've completed the React class at this point, feel free to update your LinkedIn profiles to show that you've completed the React course with us. I want to say there is a document floating out there in your Sparrow announcements channel about how to go through that process. If you're not terribly on LinkedIn very often, then it'll show you how to be able to update any profile info to show that you've completed that education with us. And then lastly is the Giving Back program. Just as a reminder, we talk about it usually at the very start of your class, so we just like to revisit at the end too. If any of y'all would like to come back as like a mentor or a volunteer to help with assignment review or intro students, anything like that, feel free to get in touch with myself or Reed. So that way we can get you aligned with an intro class if you'd like to help students, or in a couple of months, if you've landed your dream software job and you're all excited and have a little bit of extra income that you want to kick back, feel free to do that. There are like donation links just on the main codethedream.org site that you can go through and do it that way if you want to. And I think that covers all of our housekeeping things. Before we get started, did anybody have any burning questions that they need answered about either practicum or apprenticeship or next steps or anything about presentations tonight that we should cover? Okay, sounds good. Any volunteers for who wants to go first is the next question then.
I don't mind going first.
Okay.
If there's no one else who wants to.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Hi, Mary. I wouldn't mind going second after Summer.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, so Summer, you're up. Tim, you're on deck. You should be able to have sharing capabilities, Summer. Let me know if it gives you any issues. Okay, good, perfect. There we go.
Yep. Here's my to-do list app. I'm not really sure what to say about it or how long I have to go. It works, so I don't think there's any bugs as far as I've seen, nothing in the console. So I'll just add, like, you can see my testing with the ordering here that I put in. So maybe sample to do, click add there, and then now it shows up there. I didn't see that immediately. So I was like, where did it go? But yeah, that's it pretty much what it does. I also have some menu items. And this just goes to a page where I thought I had put the header up here. So I don't know what happened with that. But anyway, that's just copying and pasting some HTML up there. Anyway, that's all. Anything else to say or see? Questions?
Yeah, do your remove buttons work to be able to take items off?
Oh yeah, there you go.
And then are you
Ample
having
to
all
do
of
is
your
gone.
are you having all of your items linked to your Airtable for it?
Yes.
Okay, if you don't mind pulling up your Airtable and just kind of show how
Ooh, I haven't logged
maybe
in
yeah, I
forever.
know. I understand that. If you can, that's fine. If you can't, that's fine too. And then we also usually like to see if the site's responsive, like if it changes any when you're on smaller
Okay.
screens, that
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
thing.
So I think this is like the table here where you just have some sample information. So one for ABC. Oh, okay. Maybe that's interesting. I wonder what happened there. Maybe I'll have to look into that,
Yeah, that's
but it
fine.
should have been working.
A lot of times it'll like your updates will happen within state and so it'll be local, but it won't necessarily use the API to be able to write back to your base.
Yeah.
So it's probably just something along those lines. Yeah, when you refresh, then it should pull in all of your defaults from your table. Exactly.
Yeah, so now that's there. I don't know what was with that one menu option, but I'm glad I'm going first. So I'm setting the bar low for everyone else.
No, that's
But
perfectly fine.
yeah,
And then how about
there you
the
go.
responsiveness for it, Summer?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wonder why it did that. Oh, I hate doing. So there you go.
There you go. Awesome. All right. And then the other things that aren't necessarily code or display or demo related that we always like to know is just what was your favorite part and what was your biggest challenge?
What was my favorite part? I actually really like working with endpoints generally. So I like pushing data, getting data, and working with that back and forth. And so that part, like putting in the push functionality and the remove functionality, was probably the most interesting to me. That was also, I think, the most hands-off part of the course, or at least like the least guided part of the course, where there was the least amount of instruction. So it made me think a little bit more. For me, as far as like the most challenging part is, it wasn't necessarily challenging, but I really hate CSS like a lot. And so I was just like, this header CSS is from the application I did in the intro course. So I just copied that. And then like I found this button CSS somewhere else and I was like, I'm good to go. Like that's kind of what sums it up.
Yeah, I feel like most developers have a love-hate relationship with CSS. Either they absolutely love it and do fine with it, or they're like, oh, why do I have to deal with this?
Yeah, exactly.
Well done on your project. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything they'd like to share with Summer?
I really love the effects that you have on your buttons. It's really cute.
Thank you. Cool. Well, I'll stop sharing.
All right. All right, thanks, Summer. Okay, Tim, you are up next. So whenever you're set, you can go ahead and share and go through the same kind of presentation.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So this is my to-do list. This is it at full width. I'm just going to move some windows. So this is the Airtable. So this is the app. It will get the data from Airtable, the API source, and it will render it on the app. Some of the main features, there's this input field. I'm able to add new to-do. And that's added dynamically on Airtable. I'm able to also edit a to-do. So if I click this pencil, that'll have an input field, and I'm able to update the value. And if I press enter, that should update it. That also updates it on Airtable. I'm also able to delete to-dos. So if I delete that and also this, and I'm also able to, another feature is when you click this checkbox, there's basically like another like field that will make a fetch request for true or false, depending on if you check the checkbox or if you uncheck it. So I could check everything, and I could have multiple edits. Also, there's two buttons here. One that lets me sort in ascending or descending order. So that's descending order, and this will toggle it if I click it again. And this button here will sort by time created. So Airtable, when you get the data, there is like one of the properties is like created at, and it's just like a long string. So I basically took one of those properties and made like a new variable to split at a specific like character, and I'm able to sort by time created. So basically the newest to do and the oldest to do. And also the app is fully responsive with using media queries. So it's, I tried to make it as subtle as possible, but you could kind of see it does right, yeah, there, see there. And the smallest media query, I think like 500 for mobile devices, like I think like the iPhone. So yes, that is my to-do list. Are there any questions?
Awesome, that's great, Tim. What is the icon that's at the end of the to-do list title? Does that have any kind of feature that's just a little logo to kind of
Yeah, this is
demonstrate?
just a SVG icon that I just added on there.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I like all the
So
extra features that you added as far as like sort as well as the recent. I also like that you have the count of how many items that is at the bottom too. I think that's very helpful.
right, yeah. So I think you were mentioning like some of the features that I like working on. I did enjoy working on the CSS part of it. Some of the, I think for me, deployment. So this is actually deployed using Netlify. I was kind of lucky. I was able to just use the command line of Netlify and just enter the API key and kind of obfuscate as best as I can the API key that way. But I found there were some last minute like bugs that I found, or like features that were not working. So on, because this is deployed on Netlify, if I have my phone open and I edit a to-do, like one of the bugs or like I think like not working features is if I press enter on a mobile device. So I had to kind of do some research on that. So I really did not know, because I was not able to really test it on a mobile device. So that's
Yeah,
like some bugs that I kind of found. So
yeah.
I was
Awesome.
able to fix that. Yeah. So yeah, that was my to-do list. Thank
It's
you.
always something. There's so many different devices and operating systems out there. I feel like
Yeah.
you're always going to wind up running into some little something on some version or some device one way or another.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to share with Tim? Lots of
How did
applause
you,
emojis.
oh, how did you make the buttons for the sort and the time created?
So basically, when the sort button is clicked, that creates a new variable, and then I use the split method to split one of the properties that you get on Airtable. I
Oh,
believe it's like time created, and then like I created like specific key value pairs, and then
I
like,
guess I meant more the design
oh, the design
rather than
part.
the
Okay.
functionality. Yeah.
So I really just use like font awesome icons. There's like React, I think like React icons or something
Okay.
that I used to style. Like these are font awesome icons, the trash can, the pencil. And I think these are just like, I think if you just search up like React icons, just some like generic like icons will just show up, and it's a lot easier to use than the font awesome icons.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments out there? All right, good job, Tim. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay,
Thank you.
who would like to go next?
Can you hear me, Mary Alice?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my
Your
gosh.
audio is functioning.
Oh my gosh. I'll go first or I'll go next because I'm afraid I'm gonna have technical difficulties
Yeah,
again.
that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and jump on in whenever you're ready. I see you.
I think when I logged into the Airtable, I'm not sure if anyone else is experiencing this, but it's saying that the page isn't working. So I'm not sure if
Okay. Sorry, Marissa here. Okay, that happened to me just right now. I was freaking out a little bit. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay.
yeah. And I'm thinking, I mean, I can show my project, but it won't indicate the list items.
Yeah,
because,
that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, Airtable
Yeah,
just
that's
stopped working.
okay.
No.
We all understand the circumstances of technical glitches. So
Oh
it's
man.
A-okay.
Okay, let's proceed and hopefully the magic of Airtable will work when the time comes. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close some windows and I think I'm gonna stop my video because I think I'm gonna get frozen and that won't be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. My inspiration for my where is it? My inspiration for my project was actually Airtable. Whenever we were creating the Airtable spreadsheet, it had an icon, and I selected a headset icon, and that spurred my idea to create this for you. It's called Jamaway, and it allows you to, like, let's say you wanted to, like, you haven't had access to a song in a while and that you forgot about it, but you wanted to listen to it and you wanted to include it on your next music playlist. You do that with Jamlist. So here in the Jamaway site, I have here a Let's Jam button. And when you hover over it, it creates a pointer, and it also has a color effect. So it incentivizes the user to, get started. When you click on it, it transitions into the Jamlist section. And here you're able to, like, when you hover over the Add Song button, it has a little block or forbidden symbol, which it doesn't allow you to click on it because, of course, you would want it to have your list displayed, right? You wouldn't want to have nothing displayed. So it's only after you begin typing, like, so let's say I want to type in a long lost forgotten song. I'm going to type in MC Hammer's Can't Touch This. And it's only after you start typing that the pointer, the hand cursor is enabled, and you can either click on the add song or you can press enter. So that would normally showcase the list item. So you'll have your below, you'll have your Can't Touch This. And let's say you wanted more than 2 songs, or actually, yeah. So upon typing 2 or more songs, so let's go ahead and type Nirvana's Teen Spirit. So imagine you have below the loading 1 sec, the song Teen Spirit, and you'll have here, like, on the loading 1 sec, you'll have a toggle button up here, and when you hover over it, it has a text, and it'll provide a text that says sort. So it gives the user an idea of wanting to reorder your songs in descending and ascending order. So that's the magic of the sort button. And then let's say that the user has already included these jams on their next music page. You can remove them if we so choose by clicking on the X button. So next to the song list, you have a little X. And so when you click on it, it will go ahead and start removing the songs that you wish to remove. The toggle button, the sort button, will also be removed. And so that concludes the jam list section. I have a get in touch button. So when you click on it, you can click on the get in touch button, or you can also access in the contact navigation button the same pathway, which is the create it with section. I had fun. I wanted to pay my respects to JavaScript and React. I kept with the music theme, so I've grabbed the cassette images from the Unsplash website. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I played with the design and the outline. And below that, we have the get in touch section, which allows you to, it's a form. It provides the user, it allows the user to provide feedback. So you can type in your name, your email, and your message. And you can click send away. Upon clicking send away, it resets the form. And I have also set it up where it prevents the page from refreshing. And then below that, we have the footer section that links up to your LinkedIn and your GitHub. So when you click on the LinkedIn, it opens up a tab that directs you to my LinkedIn profile, as well as the GitHub button will direct you to the to-do list project. My next intention is to include the README, a little bit of a description of our to-do list project. I think that would be useful for folks who want to access the GitHub repo and have a better understanding of the project. So next steps would be I'd like to iterate and actually include another cassette player, have that be CSS modules, because I also want to pay respects to CSS. Like without CSS and CSS modules, I wouldn't have been able to create this site. I had fun with it, but at the same time, after I shifted away from CSS, it took me a while for my brain to shift back to React and JavaScript logic. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone, but that was interesting. When you click on the home button, it directs you back to the home screen. And so for next steps, I like to also play with creating a toggle button that allows you to, when you click on it, the user can prefer if they want a light or dark mode theme. So that's something that I think would be fun. And then the resources that got me to the finish line were Dribble. I found inspiration through the Dribble site. Like I really enjoyed the background color scheme, and I was trying to go for that type of aspect, that type of goal for my site. What also helped me was 2 Chrome extensions, the Colorzilla. It allows you to pick a color from any site and you can save it, and then you can access it for future projects. I thought that was very helpful, because then I was able to still access the colors that I wanted. The same goes for the Fonts Ninja. It allows you to identify the fonts of your choice and use it for future projects. And another cool useful tutorial that I found helpful was YouTube's Net Ninja. They have a mobile first responsive series, and I use that to help me navigate how to build a mobile first site. So I'll go ahead and share that with you right now, where we have the mobile version followed by the tablet, laptop, and then we have a desktop version. So that was very helpful. This YouTube series gave me a good insight of the layout aspect. I learned about grid, a little bit of Flexbox, and the mobile first approach. So yeah, thank you all, and also to my peers and mentors who helped troubleshoot my code along the way. I'll go ahead and send it back over to Mary Alice.
Awesome. Thanks, Sase. You did a great job. Does anybody have any comments or questions about anything that she used building her site?
It looked really cool, by the way. I'm so bummed out, but hopefully Airtable can get back to work for others too. So that way we can see your site in action. But
I think it's back, so maybe if you refresh, it'll.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, let's give that a try.
Fingers
Okay.
crossed.
Yay. Okay,
good.
let's go ahead and play with this now. I'll refresh. Yay.
There you go. Yeah, it has those already in there. Nice.
Yeah. So we could go ahead and play with the list. We could add in another song and remove as we wish, and the toggle button will disappear as well. Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Asaya. Any other questions, comments?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm not part of Code the Dream, but I was invited by Asaya. Yeah, I just wanted to say that was a great application and a great presentation. I was wondering about the backend, or like how your API is communicating with Airtable. I'm not really familiar with that platform, but it looks like you're using it as like a database. So I was hoping you could maybe show us some of that code and how the client side is communicating to the server side.
Yeah, sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. So I have here the code for the jam list. My app.js file is where all the magic happens with regards to requesting data from Airtable. We used the get, the post, and the delete request. So here in our app component, we're able to access the URL Airtable's database by requesting data from Airtable via the specific URL indicated here in the request variable. And one of our rubric assignment requirements, or it was I guess it was, yeah, it was a requirement, was to play with the table name variable. And so that was an interesting, it wasn't a challenge, but it was fun because I was able to create my title and then insert it dynamically into my URL. And so that was helpful in terms of like future use, whether I wanted to get request or if I wanted to post a request, it will fetch that data and then we'll provide a response back where we parse the JSON and then we go ahead and do something with that data. So that's sort of like how we set our requests up for our project.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Asaya. Yeah, the table name will be helpful too if you ever want to have multiple tables tracking different to-do lists. Like if you want to have one app with multiple to-do lists, like one for work, one for personal, one for health, that kind of a thing too. Awesome. All right. Job well done. Any volunteers for who's going to be going up next? If not, I'll just go down the list.
I guess I'll go next.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Could I go
Jay.
after Jay?
Yeah, absolutely enough.
All right, let me let's see if this works. Okay. Yeah, so this is my app. I made kind of a fake login page. If you try to log in without anything or just at spaces, it tells you you have to enter username and password. And then it takes you to the home page and loads in the primary list from the first like Airtable page. Can add an item. And get rid of it. My sort is a little funky. It won't work until like the third time it's pressed. I didn't have time to finish fixing that, unfortunately, but I'll work on that a little bit later. And there's also a goals page, which is pretty much the same item. Yeah, and logout page in which you can pretend to log out. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. So you don't have like the actual like authentication setup as far as having specific tables associated with individual users yet, right?
No.
Okay. How are you
Um,
pulling, because you had the one list on the home and then you had a separate list on goals. Are those coming from two different tables in Airtable or? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. Oh, hold on. I think you accidentally muted yourself.
sorry.
There we go.
Yes,
That's
there
okay.
are two
I do that
different
all the time.
tables. I wanted to add like priorities and like a checkbox, but I didn't quite have time for that, but maybe I'll work on that later. Yeah.
That's the nice thing about React is you can always kind of be thinking about different features and different phases that you can kind of slowly roll into the app that you're building to kind of build it up or make it a little more user friendly. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you mind showing the responsiveness of it? If it kind of shrinks down if you're on a more mobile
Oh,
side?
right. Hold on a second. The Zoom box is in the way. There we go. All right. I don't.
Yeah, just click and drag. There you go.
Yeah, it changes a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
The
nothing
format of it is already
dramatic.
pretty user friendly anyway, as far as keeping things well aligned and easy to access.
Yeah, the secret without the authentications, you can just click on the links right now.
Yeah.
This one is not as responsive, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. That's great. Awesome. What was your biggest challenge and what was your favorite part of working on either this or on the Hacker Stories blog?
My biggest challenge, I think, was I like CSS, but I had a number of life things that I didn't have as much time to work it out how I wanted to. And I had like a nice concept and it hasn't quite lived up to that, but I can fiddle with it later. What was the other part of it?
The biggest challenge for you?
I guess it's just like learning a lot in a condensed period. I felt really good about it at the end, even with all the struggles. I like decided to make a login page at the end, and there wasn't any guide for that. I was just kind of like taking the components that I had made and like structuring it on my own, and it went really well. So that felt pretty good.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you can take something that you learned and kind of reestablish it in a different way or kind of reinterpret it into something else. I think that's always nice to be able to translate what you've learned into some other tool or some other use. That's always really cool. Well, great job. Does anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to share?
I like your fonts, Jay. What font do you use for the navigation bar and the welcome?
Thanks. Let me look up my let's see. The basic one is Nunito and the curly one is Pacifico. I got them both off the Google fonts, so they should be free.
Cool, thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions or anything? All right. You can go ahead and stop sharing then, Jay, and enough whenever you're set, you can go ahead and start sharing. And don't forget to unmute yourself too.
Thank you.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Yeah, so this is my app. I tried to keep it kind of simple and clean. There's the SVG icon, the pretty standard stuff. I added a sort button that sorts. You do the standard add, and it took a while, but thank God that gave me a heart attack. It adds and it removes, and I tried to make it responsive, but it's like after seeing Asaya's, mine's nowhere near as good. But like it gets janky when it's like thinner. So like there's like some alignment issues. But I think I did okay with the bigger widths. And I didn't really have much idea on what to put on the second page, so I just kind of did the same thing, but I just added like a date field. And on this page, you can like sort by oldest to newest. And it adds and subtracts and stuff as well. This one I didn't have to work much on for the responsiveness because it was just by default already responsive. So that was a good thing for me. And I think the biggest problem I had was like there was a lot of new stuff to learn, and I basically forgot how to do fetch requests. And then the documentation on Airtable kind of has like a different method of doing fetch requests. So then I tried that, couldn't go anywhere with that. Then I had to revert back to the original fetch methods and just like spend hours trying to relearn that and then get it to work. But yeah, that was it.
Awesome. And so that was your biggest challenge then, was just kind of working through the fetch part of it, like getting that up and functional again for you?
Yeah, like learning fetch and then adding the add function and the delete functions, which were also fetch.
What was your favorite part, or what did you enjoy the most? Or was it the satisfaction when you finally got all of the fetch things working, that was the satisfaction?
Yeah, I think it was the dopamine rushes I'd get when I finished troubleshooting.
There you go. Nothing feels better when something's broken and then you're like, yes, it finally works.
Yeah, I literally ran around the room after like one bug.
Isn't that
Like, I
great?
was so grateful.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing. Oh, I did want to ask you for your logo next to the to-do list. So is that something that you created on your own, or did you find it somewhere? Or it's really cool looking. I like it.
Yeah, I found it, but it was like a different color scheme, so I had to edit that.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thanks for sharing. Oh, for your Airtable, does it read and write to it, or does it keep it all locally in state when you're doing it? Okay, nice.
It does, but I kind of got lazy. I didn't want to add another table, so I just put it in a different
Just pulled it from a
column.
different column. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, that still functions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Anything that they'd like to share with Anaf?
I like the AC toggle button because it's very clear as to like how you want to order your list. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's so funny that all of the different interpretations and different approaches for things along those lines, like little user interface type of things, that it's like, is it better to do letters? Is it better to do something that's not letters, in case anybody has any like dyslexia or issues with reading or anything like that? There's so many different approaches to it, and I think all of them are always well thought out. And so I really like how, especially that you flip it from Z to A and A to Z. I think that's very helpful. Awesome. All right, any other questions or anything? Good. Okay, who would like to go next, or should I call on somebody? Curtis.
Wait, I stopped sharing, right?
Not quite yet, you haven't. There's usually it's like a green and red bar. Sometimes you have to sort of mouse over your Zoom window
okay,
for it to show up.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does that to me all the time. It winds up like hiding it behind a window, and I'm like, ah. All right, any takers for next up?
I can go if Curtis is okay with that. I heard you kind of call his name. No, I'm okay either way.
I was just starting to go alphabetical down the list of people who still needed to go, so that's fine. Yeah, Curtis, if you're cool with Marissa going, then Marissa, take it away.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, everything's coming through.
So I went ahead and I made a login and a sign up. So I'll go ahead and demo that. And this is also, most of my stuff is hooked up to the Airtable database. So I'll go ahead and show how to sign up for this. So we'll just make a test account. Oh, okay, I got scared. All right, okay, so you can go ahead and create an account and it should show up here in Airtable. So once that is done, there's a message that triggers and it says your account's been, it gives you the green light that your account has been created and tells you to log in. So you can go to login. So I will go ahead and I'll actually show you without, with an improper account first. So you'll actually get an error. So it does validate if this is a real account or not. So I'll show you when it will actually work. Okay, okay. And so it automatically routes you if the login is successful to the home area. Okay. So I have, I'll go ahead and just show you that I have 3 separate lists here. I'll go ahead and demo most of the features on this first list, and then I'll go a little bit more into the other 2. So you can delete or add something. Let's just say I need to cook, so I'll go ahead and add cook. There's also a lot of small details in here. So for instance, something that would break my AP, that would break Airtable is if you attempt to enter in spaces and then pull that data. So I made it that if you put in a bunch of spaces, you cannot enter that in. It won't work in that case. You can also edit inline. Just say I want to edit this and say cook dinner instead. This will also update in Airtable if you see over here when I edit it inline. There was one more thing. Oh, again, so this would also break my Airtable in the past. But if the user puts in spaces, it actually reverts back to what was previously there. As I linked more of my information to Airtable, it came with more conditions on how I had to accept user input and how I was collecting my data. Let me just move the Zoom bar. Okay, so you can also mark a task complete or incomplete. You can see it in the Airtable on the right hand of the screen. It will switch from true to false based on how you check it. And then also there's styling here. So there is a line that goes through. So I also made it so that you can see there's basically like an incomplete section and then a completed section. So let's say I haven't completed any of my tasks or I want to mark a task as incomplete. You will just go back to the normal list. And then if you do have a task or more than that, that's complete, this completed task section will pop up. Okay, you can also search within a singular list. So let's say I want to search for anything with a C or cook. It will come up and it will search both the completed or the incompleted list. This also works. Again, I try to pay attention to like small details. So like if you put in all caps, it still works for searching. And actually I forgot to show something else. So the other part of this is like you can clear it when you click on this button and it will revert back to everything instead of having to delete it one by one. Okay, and my sorting just does A to Z, but it will do both lists. So you can see this is from A to Z, and this is also from A to Z as well in both of these lists. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show my navigation. So basically you can click the nav bar on and off. I have 2 other lists. You can also see them here in Airtable. And again, same thing. All of this is held in Airtable, and anything you do will be in the Airtable. Yeah, in the Airtable as well. So the user can do whatever they want to these 3 lists, and it'll be suffrage. Okay, I will go ahead and, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and show the mobile. Okay. Okay, so I tried to design with like flex and grid so it was responsive first, and it made it a lot easier in the process when I needed to collapse other items. So if we are to look at this on an iPhone, I tried to create like an overlay effect, so you can kind of see that I blurred the background. So you click this on and off. And I also shrank the font size, and everything is still centered nicely. So if you're on like an iPad or something like that, you'll still get this nice overlay effect. And then I'll just show. So yeah, right here, right when you reach about like 900, it will kind of go into this overlay effect. And you can switch between these lists. Okay. I think I showcased everything that I wanted to. Any questions I can answer?
I think it looks great. I I like it better than the Alexa app with all the lists there.
And I can also I'll go over my biggest challenge. It was for sure, let me see if I can pull it up, understanding how to work with the Airtable API. It took me so long to conceptualize, like I should make separate tables because I was trying to manipulate the columns to make multiple lists. And then I realized, oh, okay, I need to create 3 different tables in here. And then the other hard part was, can you dynamically switch between these 3 different lists when the user clicks on it, and then make them allow the user to modify it and those updates to be saved. So those 2 key, I guess those were 2 like areas where it just took me a long time to conceptualize it and really understanding how to use Airtable.
Awesome. It's a great job, Marissa. Lots of hand claps going on. Anybody have any other questions or comments or anything?
I like when the user, whenever they're in the login site, and it has the indication of the green text that lets you know that you are logged in, or the red text that tells you that you are not logged in. That's very helpful. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the little colors. It's nice to kind of like see the like visual change on the page.
Awesome. All right. Danielle, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question about the UI. It's really nice. Did you use Bootstrap or like another CSS framework or Sass? Or did you like individually just use like raw CSS and supplement it with like Font Awesome or another type of framework or like program to incorporate icons and such?
So everything is done with plain CSS. I did not, I would like to learn SCSS, but I just used what I already knew. The only thing that I used a library for was just the icons themselves. They come from the React library. I didn't design the actual icon, but everything else is just designed with Flex, Grid. And for me, I feel like with CSS for styling, you can always just style more and more, and that's really tough for me sometimes. So I just try to keep it as, just like focus on the layout, make sure that's very nicely structured, and then build very small pieces at a time, or else I will get overwhelmed with CSS. And I used Google. I did import a Google font for the font.
Nice, thanks.
Awesome. All right, thanks again. Okay, who would like to go next? Any volunteers out there? Curtis or
Sorry.
Monica?
I don't mind going next. If that is
Yeah,
okay.
go right ahead, Marcus. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. This is my to-do list app. And right now we are looking at the home page. I think one of the cool things that I won't be able to show directly is that the background image will change based on the time of day. And the message will change. So there is a good evening message, good morning message, and a good afternoon message, and corresponding pictures that go along with that. And it will still say good evening after 10 p.m. and past 12 into the early morning. But even then, I'll have a darker background drop for you. So I enjoyed making that when it comes to designing, but we can get into some of the lists I have. I have a personal list, school list, and a work list. And when we click there, it'll load the browser route and the corresponding data. So right now in the Airtable, I have no data within my personal section. So we'll go ahead and try out adding a to-do list item. Cool. So this is something I would love to do. And I went ahead and added that. It causes a kind of post request and it will add here. I do have a position field, and that is useful for just when I have multiple list items. So I'll go ahead and switch over to the school version and add a third one. And here in the school field, I have the title and position as well. And this is useful when enabling drag and drop. This is something I wanted to do to allow the user to kind of create their own order. And drag and drop was something that I imported. It is a package or a library called React Beautiful DND. And really, I can just kind of set or kind of wrap my unordered list inside a component called droppable. And then each list element will be wrapped inside a draggable element. And this kind of, they already have this all set up. So whenever I kind of grab something, if I'm out of bounds and not inside that droppable area, it will kind of revert back. But if I start with one, this index of 0 and end at the index of 2, these are kind of information that is passed through that event, and I'm able to sort and adjust and then pass those index values to the position variable, which is updated through a put request. So I think one thing that I kind of had some trouble with is when I have a couple of lists. I don't know why I put 4 in the fifth location, but that's okay, we can do this, something like that. But let's say I get rid of these positions in the middle. That is not updated and reflected. So if I am adding another list, initially I had it so that the position is added as the to-do list link. So I would add something and the position would be 3, or sorry, yeah, it would be the to-do list link. So it would get a position of 3 or things like that. And what I did to make sure that the position of 3 doesn't load into the spot between 3 and high, I made sure that it is not based on the to-do list links value, and it is now kind of based on the previous or the last item's position value. So I took that last item's position value and added 1 to it to make sure that it's still in that location. And if I adjust it, the kind of index values that are passed through the event will actually replace those kind of loaded values and kind of get it back into place, looking nice and clean. But it's totally okay if it's all messed up, as long as it's something that's shown on the user end, as they are not necessarily looking at the Airtable when doing these things. So that's kind of most of my application. And as I finish up, I'll go ahead and remove this item and show you guys some of the CSS media queries. So I'll go ahead and start with the XR. This is what I use. And in general, for most of the queries, this is the base of the app. This is not really accessing too many media queries to change anything. This is what the home would look like. But if I go to a smaller width value, it may change a little bit. And yeah, so for the most part, the app will look the same. I think one thing to worry about is the width of the list elements and any overflow. So if I had too much text, there will be, I set overflow to auto, which will allow a scroll bar. So that is something to keep in mind, especially just even when you're on your laptop or on tablet sizes. It's just nice to have. And as it gets bigger, the allowed height of each list element will change and adjust. So this one no longer has that scroll feature. So these are my media queries, and I hope you guys enjoyed the application. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Marcus. Yeah, I like that you do the word wrap on there because I am very wordy whenever I'm making my own to-do lists.
Yeah.
So it's good that you included that feature.
Awesome.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Job well done. Thank you for sharing it, Marcus.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go ahead and just speak on my favorite part of the class. Yeah. I think I enjoyed doing the drag and drop. I think like when I was in the intro class, I just saw this silly TikTok and they were like, drag and drop is like one of the hardest things to do. And I would probably definitely agree, just to the point, like I'm not creating drag and drop necessarily, I'm importing it from a library. So the things behind the scenes sounds very complicated and I'm definitely curious to do it. But the idea that learning React frontend and all the possibilities with NPM was super cool to put into use and actually have for the to-do list. And then for, I guess, one of the more challenging parts, I would definitely go with CSS. I have a love-hate relationship. I love it because it allows for beautiful designs and kind of you to put your creativity into things. As you've seen today, there's many to-dos projects and they all look different and it's just a cool thing to see. So that's what I love about it. But the thing that I might have a challenge with is it feels like a lot of trial and error for me at the moment, just kind of inputting values and seeing if that really fits well. So I guess trying to work on becoming more efficient is something that I'm definitely working on. But I thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Oh, Danielle had a question too, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry for all my questions.
That's fine.
NPM module, did you mention you used for the drag and drop feature?
Yes. I will go ahead and share my screen once again and kind of look it up, but it is called React Beautiful D&D. So I just kind of put yarn add React Beautiful D&D or npm install React Beautiful D&D. And this is really paired with React. It works very well with the idea that there you just kind of wrap your list items in something called draggable and kind of maybe wrap your unordered list in something called droppable. And these kind of really set up the entire environment for allowing drag and drop on what you want to do. I'm currently just, I use this really quick and learned it within the last few days, so I'm not the most familiar with it. But there is a lot of options, including just being able to style them how you want, kind of work in this vertical format, or you can even do it horizontally. But yes, it is React Beautiful D&D.
Nice, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, and who would like to go next?
I can go next.
Awesome, thanks, Irene.
Okay. So, I'll start with the nav bar. I have 2 days to do, a priority list, and goals. Basically, the today to-dos and priority is the same table. I have a field that has priority. It'll be true or false. I didn't get time to implement when adding a to-do to either put if it's a priority or not, but I did it within my Airtable, and then when I click priority, it'll sort it as the ones that are in priority going first versus the ones that are faults. And then I also put the date on to do. I did that using state, and then I can do an add to do, which will show up in my Airtable. I can delete it, and I can also edit. And I did another goals table also in my Airtable and could do the same thing as the edit and complete. As far as responsive, is pretty much everything's to the left, so it was pretty easy to keep it responsive, except when it gets a little too small. For me, I know the edit wasn't part of the, it was not a part of the rubric, but once I started, I couldn't finish, but that was the most difficult part for me. I guess that's it.
Awesome. What was your favorite part to work on?
I was gonna add, as far as styling, I did SAS instead of just the CSS, which was pretty fun to just learn. And I had to do I had to install an extension, which I would create the SAS file, and with the extension, it would compile the SAS to CSS, which is why I have 3 different files for just the one SAS or CSS. So that was fun to do.
Awesome. That's great. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to share? Thank you for sharing, Irene. I think it looks great.
Thank you.
I like the button effect. I see it kind of like it has like a little blur effect. I think that's pretty.
Oh, and the navigation bar
for the add and the edit and complete it. I don't know.
Like a glow behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a quick question again.
Yeah.
Great app, Erin. Did you find learning the syntax for SAS difficult, or what was the learning curve for going from CSS to SAS?
I found it pretty easy. I like the implementation of having variables, which is what the colors and the font. That's what I had stored. I like that. I thought that was fun. It's easy to reuse, but as far as the syntax was pretty much the same as CSS.
Cool. Good to know.
Any other questions or comments? Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Irene. All right. Anybody want to go next? The hand claps throw me off for a second. I'm like, oh, people are raising their hands to go next. Oh, wait, no, those are hand claps. Monica, you said you'd like to go next.
Yeah, I can go.
Awesome. Whenever you're ready, take it away.
Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this is my to-do list. This is the navbar, and on the left side I have the sidebar. And you can add a task. and then you're able to edit it, and everything is linked to Airtable. So if you edit here, you can mark it as completed or uncompleted, and then you can add a note or description. And it's also linked to Airtable. So you can have your description here. And you're allowed to sort and ascending to descending. And I have also other lists. Those are different tables on Airtable. They all have the same functionality. This is the home button. So if you click, you will go to the home list, and you also can search. And it's also case insensitive, so you can use uppercase or lowercase, and it's gonna work. It's responsive. So if you have a smaller screen, the sidebar the color is gonna change, and it's gonna be on top of the list. And if you go even smaller, the notes are going to be in the bottom part. And that's all.
That's awesome, Monica. I especially like that you change the layout as you get to the smaller screens while still being able to keep the comments on your task. I think that's a very thoughtful feature to include. I think that was really great. But job well done. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything they'd like to share with Monica?
I like the edit task feature. That's a really cool feature.
Thank you.
I like how you can have a description for your feature. I think that's really useful.
Yeah, because sometimes you have like in a small task, but you want to add more to that. Like over here, I actually use this list. So I have like the style list, and then I have little tasks for each one. And it was very useful because I use it myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, our last class, that was one of the questions that Lori had asked was, is anybody using their to-do list app currently if they had deployed it, and or are they using it just locally? So she'll be glad to know that there's at least one in class that's in use.
Yes, I use it a lot. I really love lists. So
that's awesome.
I do lists for everything. So
there you go. Next step is to deploy it. That way you can have it on your phone or your tablet or whatever.
Yes.
Awesome.
And the thing that I enjoyed the most was like being able to implement my ideas. Mm-hmm. I really love that process because like it really made me think. And also pairing with my classmates. I really enjoy. In the intro class, I didn't pair with my classmates, but here I pair with a lot of them. And I really enjoy working with someone else. It's less stressful and it's fun. And also I enjoy debugging a lot with the help of the tutors.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Who's our next volunteer up to present? Thanks for sharing, Monica.
Yes, I'll go.
Is that Curtis?
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're disappearing, reappearing, Curtis tonight.
Let me turn my light on.
Perfect.
Okay. Share screen.
Yep.
Can you see my Airtable?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. Airtable. Here's my app. Wait, hold on. Let me move this bar if I can. Yep. Here's the homepage. I didn't know about the homepage thing until near the end when I read the bottom of the Rubico. So I just added it at the last minute. That's why there's nothing actually on the homepage. But I do have, a hover effect on the buttons, and let me refresh because it's been sitting. And then when you open the To-Do app, and I have it to where you can search. like if I hit 9, or come on, I have a sort for alphabetical, add, and it adds it to the, see it's number 16 in the Airtable. Responsiveness. I have, well, you can see. And I guess that's about it. I don't know what else to say.
That's great, Curtis. Your Zoom panel was throwing me off. I was like, "What's your large gray bar on the side for?" It was just kind of confusing me for a minute. But yeah, that's awesome. What was your favorite part, and what was your biggest challenge when you were working through the project?
The favorite part was probably dealing with the framer motion, getting the movement and everything. Like I actually went, like a lot of times I don't understand like some of the terms. Like I can sit there and read the whole book on React and be like, I have no idea what I just read. But then I have to go watch a video on a specific term or something, or go like sometimes I would just go build a whole new app, you know, watching a video step by step to learn how to do a different step in it, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got different learning styles, so I'm glad that you found methods that worked well for you, because I can be the same way. As if I'm reading, then it's just like, hold on, I either need to reread that paragraph about 4 times before it clicks, or I just need to find some other method.
Yeah. And then also the thing about like I'm using the React cards. Like when you search something like that, when you just Google search React cards, there's a bunch of different options come up. So I'm like, which one do I use? I don't know which one's right, if this one's right or if this one's wrong. If, you know, it's like, because some things don't work anymore with some older
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of investigative process that goes into implementing extra packages into your React apps, as far as, is this going to work with the version that I've got? And is this the best solution for what I'm building? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Did anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to share with Curtis?
I'm definitely curious. What did you do to get the effect of the 2 items coming inward?
Yeah, the
So
fly
it's using a framer motion, and it's I don't really know how to describe it. I just looked it up, but I like how to describe it, but I'm completely blanking on it.
Did you do it with the CSS part? Like you wrote the code in CSS to be able to have that
No.
transition happen?
It's actually in my, hold on, I can show you my code right here. It's
so funny how you can do animations with different
like
code that you're writing.
I created variables for the different text. So my to-do list titles, it starts in hidden and moves to, you know, the exposition, transition, delay, and the spring and dampening affects how it moves in, because if you change the stiffness, it'll like kind of like bounce and do a little bounce effect. So it was like getting the timing down, and like, you know, I had to, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like basically you can add motion to anything almost.
Yeah.
Like you can add motion to an H1 tag, to a div, you know, to pretty much anything. I couldn't add it to the cards for some reason. So yeah, that was a struggle. So yeah.
I really like the effect a lot, because I was trying to like add transitions and they were just so tough for me to figure out how to do and make it look nice.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Like on every, well, when you reload, see how it comes in, and then getting them to come from the different directions. For some reason, the bottom one would not come in right. It was coming in really slow for some reason, even with the same numbers. Like I don't know what was going on, but I got it working somehow.
Awesome. Yeah, it feels a lot like there are several sites that sort of use that effect, as far as like as you're scrolling down, they kind of float these divs into place to kind of be eye-catching, but not so much motion that they're distracting, and you have just the right level of fly-in on it. It's awesome. Daniela, you had a question?
Yeah, I also like the motion effects. You mentioned cards, and I'm wondering if that's specific to React or if that's more of a CSS.
Where was my? I forgot where my cards was. I thought I had it pulled up. It's yeah. Okay, here's my cards. Yeah, because you have to. It's a npm library that you import, but the documentation isn't very well explained. Like, yeah, it's not very well explained. I mean, for me to understand, so I had to go to several videos, and not a lot of videos of people explaining it either. So, yeah, it was very complicated.
Cool. I mean, does it use like modules to design, to like make design easier, or like what purpose does it serve in your app?
It's like to where you can like, you mean what purpose does it serve? To place your your text on the card, because like my information, I can actually right now everything is set to title because I don't ever use a to-do list. So I never thought about putting the description thing. But if I wanted to, I could add in a section for the description, and then my title section would just move up, and then the description section would be under it. I didn't think about that until I saw everybody else's stuff. So
yeah, it's a nice way to sort of group and consolidate your information that's associated with one individual record in Airtable, basically. Yeah. So that way, if you do add more fields onto it, as far as like, oh, when did I create this? Or what was the due date that I put on this particular task? Then you can have that grouped within the card itself.
Yeah, and then with the rat cards, you can also, when you add the typograph, I can just add one in, and bam, it'll give me that section to add a description section.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Curtis.
All right.
Okay, so we've got 3 folks that are still online that are still due to present. Dennis, Lawrence, William, either or any of you want to go next?
I'll go.
Okay, take it away, Dennis.
Share the screen. So this is my home landing page, which is the design is inspired by Discord a little bit, the color scheme. So I best of that. On the landing page, you have a button, create list, that takes you to a to-do list, in which you can type it will automatically be in ascending order, and it all works. Let me show. Here is the Airtable. When you remove, it all works. And the navbar of home, that takes you back to home page, landing page, and the create list that takes you to to-do list. And the logo, which is just text to the landing home page. And on the footer, I have 2 links to my GitHub and email. For the mobile version, I didn't really have to do anything. It's already had like capability, so it all works fine. That's it. The most challenging part for me was understanding the fetching data, and when I finally figured it out, it actually became my favorite part of this course. So
It's so funny how that always tends to happen. Like sometimes your biggest struggle
Yeah,
ends up being your favorite thing that you learned. Well, I think the site looks great, Dennis. Thank you so much for sharing.
thank
Does
you.
anybody have any questions or comments? Did you use a particular library for your icons, like your email and your GitHub, and then for the to-do list logo at the top?
No, it's just SVG.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like the gradient look of your navigation bar. It's nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Gradients are so hip. That probably makes me sound really old. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, I think it looks great. Yeah. Other questions or comments? All right, Lawrence or William, would either of you like to go next?
I guess I'll go next.
Okay.
So I will share my screen. Give me one moment just to set that up. Perfect. So this is my project, my to-do list, and I put Airtable up. So right now you can just, I kept it simple for the most part. And I wanted to add something where the user will know if they clicked in to the search input. So as you can see, it extends out when clicked. It's not when it's rested, and then added a cross out function to each item just to show that something was completed. And then of course, it can be deleted as to the user's choice. Let's see if it's actually, yeah, so it reflects there. And then yep, so everything connects. And I use React icons for some of the styling as well. And also I added this this function where it lights up a little bit when you're on each item, just to show that you're actually on it. And then of course when you're hovering over the buttons as well. But yeah, I decided to keep it simple and straightforward. The easiest part for me was the CSS. In fairness, I did keep it simple. And the hardest part was, I would say, the fetching of data was probably the hardest part for me. But luckily through meeting mentors, it helped clarify some aspects. And that's my project.
Awesome. That's great. Do you mind showing how it looks as you just resize it to smaller window sizes too, William?
Yeah, so like that, or
I'm not seeing a change on the screen yet.
oh, again.
There we go. Now I started to see it move a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if it was like my screen was freezing, your screen was freezing up.
Should I? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's being reflected on your side, but yeah, I mean, it does kind of change a bit, but I'm not sure in the aspect that was ideal. But yeah, that's all I have.
Awesome. Any questions or comments? Anything anybody'd like to share?
How were you able to get the light hover effect? A lot of us like that aspect.
The light hover effect. Let me actually go back to see. I remember I had to use, I'm trying to remember the attribute name. Let me just give me one moment to get back to you on that one. It was. Oh, box shadow. Yeah, that was the box shadow. So I just added a box shadow to it. And so I get that lighted effect when you click onto the search input.
Cool, thanks.
All right, thanks, William. All right, so our last presenter tonight is going to be Lawrence. Whenever you're ready, Lawrence, feel free to take it away.
Hey everybody. Yeah, save the worst for last. So, yeah. So ignore the all the outlines. I was debugging my CSS, and that's what it looks like. Yeah. So when I do a refresh, it does a pull from Airtable, and you can see it starts with Z here, but then so during the pull, I specify like ascending alphabetical order. So it will sort A and lowercase a, then B, so on. So the remove button works, but it's only local. So like when you hit refresh, it pulls from Airtable again. And then the add is also local. So yeah, it only adds locally. So if you do a refresh, it's gone. So these buttons, edit, pin, bookmark, they don't work. They were very ambitious goals, and I didn't get time to implement that. I wanted to also implement like posting to the Airtable. Didn't get time for that. So like doing an edit, and even just doing an add. Yeah. Also, I didn't get time to work on the responsiveness aspect of it. I didn't get a chance to add like meteor queries or anything like that. So you can tell like it stacks up, like all the buttons stack up, and that's pretty bad. I wanted to like turn these buttons into like icons or something, but yeah, that's let's see. So some of my favorite parts were working with the mentors and having them like build an app from scratch, and then like each week adding more and more features to it. That was great. Like just being able to see like a complicated app like built like bit by bit helped my confidence. Like you see this like really cool app and you're like thinking, well, how do I even get started on something like this? And it's just really important to just take that first step, and then just take like smaller, like just take one step and then take another step, and just don't make them too, like don't bite off more than you can chew. And yeah, so that was my best part, working with my mentors, and then working with all my classmates and seeing their progression, seeing everybody grow. That was really great too.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lawrence. For your pin and your bookmark buttons, what would you like to have them do once you get them operational? Like, does pin keep it in a separate area or move it to a different list, or?
Yeah, like pin would keep it like at the top of the list.
Oh, okay, great.
And then like regardless of how it's sorted. Also, I wanted to do like a checkoff feature where it would kind of cross that off, but I didn't get time to do that either. Yeah, and the bookmark, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but it yeah.
That's a 2.0 version. But that's good that you've got a sort of direction as far as like the things that you'd like to build out, and then just take the baby steps to be able to get there. That's awesome. I actually like that you have the borders on all the different sections, because when I was first working through CSS, that was the only way I could kind of grapple with, okay, what am I doing to this, and how much room do I have between the content and the borders? And so I think that's really smart as far as going through the process of getting your CSS how you want it by putting borders on everything. That's the right way to go.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of like a console log for CSS.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you just need a visual of like, what is this and where is it going and how wide is it?
Yeah. So yeah, some of the hardest parts were just yeah, like breaking a hard task down into manageable components, and then being able to see the big picture, and then be able to like break it down to like things and tasks that you need to accomplish, like step by step. So having somebody with experience and scope might help with that too.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue in practicum. That's a lot of what your mentors will be helping you with is, you know, it's great to have an awesome idea of how you want it to be, but to be able to break it down into little bite-sized pieces is always hard to kind of get the hang of, especially when you're new. So that's definitely going to be a focus in practicum, is making sure that you're not leaping to the next step, that you're just stepping to the next step.
Yeah, and I feel like I only have a surface kind of basic understanding of hooks. And I think they can go like, there's a lot more like to it. Yeah, so I think I just started to scratch the surface of hooks, and I'd like to see them, like see more complex or advanced use cases for them. So
yes, yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Lawrence. Great job. Great job to everybody. You all really have been working so hard, and it shows. Like, your leaps and bounds now from where you were when you were finishing your intro classes. So I'm really, really proud of all of you. Big hugs to everybody. Does anybody have any other questions or anything else that they want to talk about, or you just want to unmute and give a great big woohoo or anything like that?
Congratulations, everyone, on finishing your projects.
Yeah. Very big congratulations. Go pop some champagne or have some ice cream or whatever you do to celebrate. Do that. Good job, everybody. All right, well, feel free to head off. Thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for presenting tonight. You all did excellent presentations. And if you have questions that come up between now and the start of practicum, feel free to give me a shout. I'll hang out here until everybody's signed off in case anybody does have any questions that they need answered tonight. But congratulations again. Thanks, everybody.
And we're supposed to fill out something, right, before Sunday?
Yes, yeah, at the top of the chat. Let me go ahead and copy and paste it and put it back in. The class survey, if you haven't done the class survey yet, please go ahead and fill that out. And then also do your practicum form if you haven't done your practicum form yet. So that way I know that you're wanting to participate in practicum and who you'd like to be paired with. Or rather grouped with, because it's not pairs, it's groups. All right, thanks everyone. Congrats again. Have a great night.
thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.